is like such a large topic right now because it can be really tricky if you don't know where to start. But we're going to tell you right now the best way for you to get started on tracking your macros and finding out what your macros need to be.
Here we go.
Hi, and welcome back to our channel. Today we want to talk about something that we get a lot of questions about, and you've probably heard, what are macros? Why do we need to know our macros? Why do we need to track our macros? Do you know?
I just know it says Marcos on paper.
It does say Marcos. It's macros.
I can spell really well.
All right, so what are macros? Macros are essentially the largest breakdown within your nutrition. So that's going to be your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. So there's also things like micronutrients, which we won't get into. For the purpose of this video, we are going to talk about our macros again, the protein, the fat, and the carbs. And these are essentially what makes up the greater portion of your nutrition.
Yeah, it's really good because it helps. You can use your energy, your muscle building, and all your good cognitive stuff from all your macros if you track them correctly.
So from protein, you'll help build your muscles. From your fats, healthy fats, actually, you get to lubricate your joints. It helps your brain function. And then your carbs are what gives you, of course, all that wonderful energy that we love.
We do love
We do love our carbs. Oh, okay, why do we need to track our macros? And how do we figure out how to track our macros?
It is not complicated to track your macros. I feel like people get overwhelmed, and it's not. So the reason why you want to track your macros is they really help keep you regulating your calorie intake, your overall calorie intake. So your macros will all together add up and make your calories you eat for the end of the day. So they help you keep it if you're trying to build muscle, a little bit of surplus, or lose weight, a little bit of deficit. That's pretty much what that'll help. It'll also help you learn and understand how they affect your body, or help you hit your goals. So it's really good just to have that knowledge and know what you're actually consuming and how it affects your body.
So the best way to start tracking your macros really would be to just start tracking what you eat every day. So don't do anything different, just a typical day, and do that for about a week or so. Now, we recommend that you download an app like MyFitnessPal. It's free, super easy to use, and you can literally just punch in what you're eating, how much you're eating, and it will do all the breakdown for you. So this is a really great way to start learning, like, oh my gosh, okay, so I ate this much protein, but it's, or I ate this much chicken, but it's only this much protein. I got a long way to go. So again, the best way to sort of figure out how much of your macros you should be eating, how many overall calories you should be eating, is to use a BMR calculator. So a BMR is your basal metabolic rate. It's your resting metabolic rate. So just to survive, just to breathe, just to live, this is what your body needs as far as calories. So there's a really great one that we like to use on NASM. So you just go to NASM.com and search BMR calculator. It will come up for you, and it is really helpful as a starting point. Now, it's not like etched in stone. It's not the holy grail. Again, it's just a really great starting guide. So from there, you can figure out, well, I kind of want to lose a little bit of weight. Maybe I'll go a little lower. I really want to put on some muscle, I'm going to go just a little bit higher, but it will tell you your breakdown of sort of where you need to fall within your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. Our rule of thumb for protein is always going to be, hands down, 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight. Now, if you are obese or you are seriously overweight, then you might not be able to hit that many grams of protein. So you kind of want to go for more your goal weight. So, and it has to be a realistic goal weight as well. So, we just want to really emphasize how important it is to get that protein.
Yeah, and like Kate touched on earlier too, these are all just general guidelines. Like, even if you do the math, there are nuances that your numbers won't always add up. If you do one app here, then one app there, and then do it in a calculating meal prep thing, they always don't add up, but these are like as close as you can get with the formulas of the way it should be tracked. So don't be like 1 or 2 grams on or off and freaking out if you're that far. Just start tracking, get a good idea, and then as you progress, you'll learn what works and what doesn't, and what things should be.
So how do you track your food? Again, we love MyFitnessPal. It's super, super easy to use. Again, if you want to just use a journal, write it down, and then do the math on your own, that's entirely up to you. There's ways to figure that out as well. But when you're out and about and you're kind of like, I don't know how much protein this is. I don't know what I'm getting in this. I know it gets a little bit tricky. That's why we always like to say, do a little bit of meal prepping.
Actually, if you're going to just make a dinner, like you're going to make, let's say you're just going to make chicken, vegetables, and rice. Let's say you're making that. That just sounds very simple, but then make 5 days worth of chicken, like what you think 5 days, and 2 to 3 cups and 4 cups of rice at a time, and then put it in Tupperware, put it in the refrigerator. Or a really good way to do this, and a really good way to make it simple and the best way, thoughtless. Like you don't have to think about it at all. It's just go ahead, take your little meal prep containers, a jar. I don't care if you wrap it up in a fucking Ziploc. Do what you got to do, and put it in there and weigh each individual thing out. This is where people want to mess up. They think it's not that complicated. You pull a piece of chicken, you put the thing on there, you put your either your Tupperware or your Ziploc, you put it in there, you weigh it, then you know how much protein you're supposed to get in that thing. Move to the next one, put it in there, make 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 10 meals of those, and for the next 5 to 6 meals or 3 to 4 days, you're set. Like if you're going to work and you have a normal job, you go to 8 hours or whatever you're doing, if you just want to have that grab and go, your macros are already planned out. You can go ahead and track them, make sure you're good. You can actually just save room for dinner and make sure you're good there also. But be prepared is number one key with this, and try to meal prep some. That would be a big suggestion.
Yeah, we understand if you can't meal prep everything. Nobody wants to meal prep everything, right? So maybe it's just your breakfast and your lunch and your snack before you go to work. And then you know that you've hit these macros, at least for the better part of the day. And then for dinner, you do your best, or you want to have a little something different where you're going out. It's totally understandable. Again, it's not life or death if you don't hit your macros, but it is a really great guide and helpful to keep you, again, on point with your goals.
It's quicker to meal prep because your food is already done, it's already made. So every day, if you are a busy person and you get home, you don't have to make dinner. You just pull it out. I know it's not glamorous. I know it's not like all getting an exotic fucking Instagrammable food every day, but you're staying on point and it's simple. That, and also the fact is it's cheaper. No matter what people tell you, they want to say it's so hard to eat. It's not. It's way cheaper in the long run to just buy all your stuff and make it there, and you get better at it as you go. So that's a little bit of a bonus there.
Yeah, and that's the thing about tracking is once you start, it gets easier the more that you do it. So once you have an idea of this much steak is this much protein and this much rice is this much in carbs, you get to have that eye, and then you can gauge it just by looking at something like, okay, this is not going to hit my macros, or this is too much of this and not enough of this. It does get easier the more you do it. So don't look at it like, I don't know where to start. I don't know if I can keep doing this. This is too much work. It's really not. You're going to get used to it faster than you think, and you're actually going to kind of start to enjoy it because you'll find yourself thinking, I wonder how many fats are in this, or I wonder if I've hit my macros yet. You start getting curious about it, and that curiosity is really going to help the sustainability of tracking your macros.
The house is you do have to weigh it out some sort. You can do cups, you can do grams, you can do ounces, you can do whatever, but in order to make it work, you need to know how much of some sort of chicken or steak or rice or anything you are using. Just doing it by eyeball at first is not going to cut it because you're not going to know how much that weighs. And like Kate was saying, do about a month, 2 months in total tracking your stuff, and then over that time you'll learn so much, and then you can kind of get a little bit lenient. You can relax, and then but then it does take, you have to go back eventually, because even us, we're doing this for years. If you do it for a little while, then you go back to tracking, oh man, I was slacking a little bit here, I needed more. It's always I needed more protein. That's usually the tip. I needed more protein. That's usually what it is.
All right, so we have some helpful tips for you going forward into your macro tracking future here.
All right, tip number 1. First, you just start with just tracking your protein. When you first start, you don't need to be worried so much about everything, and you want to build habits, and you want to build the habits and curiosity of doing, and your protein is going to be number one. Like we've heard us say, pretty much everybody we work with is too little protein. Protein is going to be one of the most important macronutrients, especially for building muscle and keeping you full. So you start with protein. If you need to, just start tracking your protein. Start weighing your stuff, track your protein, see how much you go, and then find your goal and hit that. Just start hitting that for a week, 2 weeks, whatever. When you feel comfortable that, okay, I can hit this, then you start tracking everything else to see where you're at in total. That would be, I would start with protein, fats, carbs.
So the next tip is going to be when you're sitting down to eat your protein first. So you want to make sure that you get that in before you go on to the good stuff. If you have veggies, if you've got, some really great carbs, some sweet potatoes, some rice, whatever it is, you want to make sure you get that protein in first. Because if you don't and you eat everything else and you're and you're full, you're not going to eat the protein. So you want to make sure, again, that is the most important that you're going to get into your system. Because again, we want to build up those muscles. Just for longevity, even if your goal isn't to bodybuild or anything like that, you want to build muscle and you want to maintain that muscle just for your longevity.
Yeah, even if you're vegan or a meat eater or whatever it is, protein's always going to be number one. You'll hear that theme throughout. We are firm believers of, we know it affects us so much when we actually track our protein and go up above it and just stay on point how much we feel better and how much we grow. Right. To be honest, and how much healthier we feel. Number 3.
Okay, so if you're out at a restaurant or you're out at someone's house and you're like, I can't track my macros, I don't know what this is. So the rule of thumb is going to be, if you look at your plate, and I will put up this nifty little thingy right here. Looking at your plate, you're going to want at least half of your plate to be protein. And we're talking just a good size protein. It's not, what did you say, a volcano?
Yeah, it's not a volcano like a redneck buffet line. We don't fill the salad bar up with one trip to this tall. Like, no. Right. Normal. You just be sensible.
So half the plate protein, and then the other 2/4 are going to be your veggies, your fats, etc., and your carbs. So you want to make sure that you have that sort of golden ratio there as far as your plate. Or if you're in a situation where that's not the case, the palm of your hand is always going to be a really great gauge for protein. Yeah. So those are just some really great little tips for when you're out and about, and obviously you're not going to pull your scale out of your bag and sit there at your friend's house.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Well, the only time that would ever happen if you're a couple weeks out from a show, and I feel like if that's happening,
you got your Tupperware.
You got your Tupperware, you're meal prepped, or just don't go out.
Right.
Like that's, if you're doing the show, you're a couple weeks out, don't go out.
You're not going out.
You're not. There's very seldom, or we have been in situations where there is a celebration of some sort of birthday, something going on, and you got to live your life a little bit. So you got to go out, you got to be seen, but you're the person who's going to sit there at the table at the restaurant and be like, no, I'm good, I'm going to have water, and everybody thinks you're crazy. But
so the other tip that we have is
front load your food, front load your macros. So what that means is, that doesn't mean breakfast is 7,000 calories and you don't eat again. What that means is just, if you have 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 meals, kind of section them out a little bit, so at the end of the day you're not like scrambling or struggling or in an unrealistic spot. You don't want to have 2 grams of protein left and 30 grams of carbs and 17 grams of fat at the end of the day, because you're not getting that in no matter what. So what you want to do is, I would always say, if you need, because my math is terrible, we're just going to suggest 200 grams of protein for today, and you're eating 4 meals, makes sense. Each meal needs about 50 grams of protein. It's a pretty high number, but you can get there. So you just 50 meals would be a lot. 50 grams of protein in every meal. Kind of like just stagger it throughout the day, and it's good. You just don't want to be in a situation where at the end of the day you're stuck scrambling, or you're not hitting something, or you're starving because you've already eaten every single thing you can eat at 2 p.m. and you're going to bed at 8. Like, if you want to do the fasting, that's fine if you want to work that way, but don't get yourself in that situation.
Right. Just be mindful. Again, that's kind of why we like to stress things like meal prepping or like batch cooking. That way you have everything prepared and you know, at least for the first half of your day, that you're covered for the most part, and then that gives you like a little bit of leeway going into the night or the evening, around dinner time.
And one thing I do like to mention, because this is probably I would say probably 90% of all of our people we worked with always say, how am I going to eat so much food? When you start eating clean food, you realize you have to eat a lot more of the food. People always say that if you eat processed food, you gain a lot of calories very quickly just because of all the fat it's in it, all the stuff that they put in it. Anyway, but you can get a lot more food out of your clean food. So if you can just eat clean for a month straight, you will definitely learn the difference and your body will feel so much better. So we really want to minimize processed food. And processed food, we just mean anything. It really kind of comes in a package and is, has a lot of weird ingredients you can't read or don't know what the hell they are or can't pronounce them, or they're 17 letters long.
Yeah, you might want to avoid those.
And we will put the links of everything we mentioned down below about the MyFitnessPal. Mm-hmm. It is fantastic. I always suggest using the app because it is just so much easier, especially when you're out and about and everyone has your phone on you. Just start with that. It's the best one. And then all the other the plate and the palm guidance too, we'll have to have that link somewhere. Mm-hmm. Help you guys out.
Well, thank you so much for watching. And we hope you learned a little something. Did you?
I learned stuff.
Did you?
Yeah.
Anytime.
Your daughter is in the way. Okay.